The Sparks with 21 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. The Dodgers got home runs from Shohei Ohtani and Teoscar Hernandez to hold off Baltimore last night. The Angels lost at Detroit. Their losing streak is now at 7. ESPN's popular First Take Morning Show will be broadcasting live from 3 HBCU campuses. September 20th at Howard University, the alma mater of Vice President Kamala Harris. October 11th at Tennessee State, the alma mater of Oprah Winfrey. And November 8th at Morehouse College, the alma mater of filmmaker Spike Lee. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
I need the dollar, that's what I need.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates small businesses, the enduring lifeblood of our community, with the launch of the KBLA SMB Marketplace. For the first time, small to medium-sized businesses will have an opportunity to promote their goods and services on KBLA and take advantage of our powerful reach and local marketing power. The SMB Marketplace is hosted exclusively on KBLA1580.com and is accessible from all our social media channels. Whether you're a small mom and pop restaurant, a car dealership, or a professional practitioner, we invite you to join in this new KBLA Talk 1580 initiative to promote your business. As a Black-owned small business, you don't want to miss this unique opportunity to gain new customers on KBLA Talk 1580. For more information, contact us today at smb@kbla1580.com. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
And if I share with you my story, would you share your shadow with me? Time to get paid.
1, 2, 3, go! I'm gonna try to keep it coming. Things ain't always smooth, but I'll be alright as long as I can find the good. Yes, I will. Somehow I know that I can make it. You seem to like my style. Don't you worry, I'm gonna be around a while. Yes, I will. I'm just happy to see you talk to me back in style again.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today in our second hour.
This is an opportunity to reckon. Descendants fulfilling the request of their ancestors. It's a ritual, something to honor, to heal. Oh my God. Bring him home!
In our second hour, award-winning environmental journalist, filmmaker, and author Ben Raines joins us to talk about the latest developments and the fate of the Clotilda, the last known U.S. slave ship, and whether it should be left beneath the sea or recovered and preserved for history. Clotilda, The Return Home, is now streaming on Hulu and Nat Geo TV on Disney+. We'll talk about Clotilda in our second hour. In our third hour today, a roundtable panel discussion with various contributors to The Covenant with Black America 20 years later. The #1 New York Times bestselling book, which I was blessed and honored to compile and edit almost 2 decades ago, is back with an anniversary edition featuring new essays, new insights, and new visions for how we make Black America better in this critical election year. Should be a spirited and robust exchange about the fate and future of Black America when we discuss with a roundtable panel the covenant with Black America 20 years later, now wherever fine books are sold. But in this first hour, let's talk politics with the editorial director and publisher of The Nation magazine, Katrina vanden Heuvel. Katrina, how are you today?
I am okay, Tavis. Wow, 20 years ago, the covenant. That's extraordinary.
Can you believe it? It's insane. 20 years. I'm feeling old, but it was
don't feel young.
Yeah, I like that. I'll accept that. I received that. No, I was just saying to somebody yesterday that it was a blessing and an honor, and I mean that sincerely. Of all the books I've written, and this is the 25th, believe it or not. But of all the books I've written, of course, I love my King.
Wow.
My book. I love my book about Dr. King, my favorite, Death of a King. I just love that text. I spent a lot of time and energy on that book. But this covenant book, of all the ones I've written, jumped to number one on the Times list, stayed there for many weeks.
For good reason.
Yeah, it's not about me. It's about all these essayists and all these ideas and all these covenants. And so we'll talk about that for the full hour and the third hour. First of all, let me just say I was so sad last week in Chicago because I crisscrossed past you twice, and I kept telling all of our mutual friends, please tell Katrina I said hello. So on Sunday, I was on a plane headed to Chicago out of L.A. Yeah, our flight was supposed to leave at 7 a.m., did not depart until 4 p.m., so
Everyone had stories.
Yes, I missed a huge tribute that The Nation magazine did to Jesse Jackson. So before you say anything else, let me just say publicly how much I just adore and respect you, as you well know. But I was so grateful to The Nation magazine for spearheading this amazing tribute to Jesse Jackson on Sunday night, the day before the convention commenced. John Nichols, I did see in Chicago. He was on our show. He's been on our show, I think, since Chicago. But I was just so grateful that you all did this. So tell me why that was such an important issue for the nation to honor Jesse Jackson.
It was so important because he represents so much that has come to fruition now. But I just want to read, if I could, a few lines from the endorsement we published in April 1988.
Please.
It was for Jesse Jackson and his campaign. The Jackson campaign is not a single shot at higher office by an already elevated politician. Rather, it's a continuing, expanding, open-ended project to organize a movement for the political empowerment of all those who participate. And we wrote, he's a serious candidate for the presidency. He was always serious. It was just the press. This is 1988. The political scientists and other politicians who belittled his campaign, trivialized his efforts, and disdained his prospects. But Jesse Jackson's enduring legacy, his commitment to the issues that have been at the best of the Democratic Party, his legacy, his ongoing work, he registered, I think, more people, Tavis, than most politicians ever shake hands.
Absolutely.
He registered, he spoke to millions of dispossessed, voiceless, and gave them hope. In 1988, his speech at the convention is one people remember to this day, one of the great speeches. They take their early bus, they clean the bedpans. He spoke to the inequality, the division, and tried to heal it. And I think he was also something we're missing today, but he was a candidate of peace. And he was the first presidential candidate to raise the issue of Palestinian human rights. He saw the world in ways trying to heal it and not militarize it. He's a citizen of the world. He was there, Tavis, for the whole session. I will say one thing the Nation often does run of shows, like, sure, 6 minutes, everyone gets 6 minutes. I think it was 4 or 5 hours. Maxine Waters, Barbara Lee.
Yeah.
Bernie
Sanders.
Show. And his plane was delayed too, but he came in at the end, and he spoke of being with Reverend Jackson in Iowa in 1988 and the multiracial populist candidacy. Very moving. People stayed the whole time.
Well, I just wanted to start, before I get into these issues, which we'll do when we come forward here in just a second, but I wanted to commence this program, this hour, with Katrina vanden Heuvel, the fine editorial director and publisher of The Nation magazine, thanking them for this amazing tribute to Reverend Jackson. I missed it. I was so late getting there. I didn't get into like 11 o'clock that night, just in time for my show the next morning. But it was an amazing event. I heard about it from everybody who was there, and I just wanted to thank The Nation again for that event. And as Katrina just read some of their endorsement back in the day, for being on the right side of history all those years ago. Think about this, The Nation endorsing Jesse Jackson back in 1988. That's a big deal. As I said yesterday, there is no Barack Obama, there is no Kamala Harris, and many others who happen not to be black. If there is no Jesse Jackson changing the rules in the DNC from winner take all to proportional voting, etc., etc., etc. I digress, but we're grateful to The Nation for leading the charge to honor Jesse Jackson just a week or so ago in Chicago. When we come forward, Katrina has written a powerful piece arguing that Democrats can win this election by championing the working class. We'll let her unpack that for us when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking.
That's what we do around here.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Tavis Smiley's new book, The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, is now on sale everywhere. This classic text shot to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list almost 2 decades ago. If you have the original book, you will surely want to get this 20th anniversary edition with powerful new contributions from today's leading voices. This 20th anniversary edition presents a compelling blend of historical insights and contemporary urgency in this critical and unprecedented election year. Get your copy of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later today.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Chevy Radio 30 before and after, code GWMR0254000.
With the incredibly spacious 3-row Chevy Traverse, you can change
"Let's just meet at the concert"
into
"Why don't I pick all you guys up on the way?"
The advanced safety engineered Chevy Blazer EV lets you turn "You think we should turn back?" into
full steam ahead.
And with the affordable Equinox EV,
keep an eye out for the next Charger, kids.
Becomes
get comfortable, kids. We'll be home in 4 hours.
For summer adventures, Chevy's got you. Chevrolet, together let's drive.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties: classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Downy Rinse and Refresh. Break up with stinky clothes.
Rinse it out.
Every now and then I get a little bit tired of the stinks that just will never come out.
Oh, Downy in the rinse straight.
Every now and then I rinse it out. One wash and it delivers. One wash, it smells so clean. Downy Rinse and Refresh, it's a dream.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes 100% of odor in just one wash. Guaranteed.
Freedom is an endless meeting, so let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
I wish I could play a lot more of this song, but I know I can't afford. We cannot afford the licensing on this, but let it ride a little longer, Miles. This is Michael Jackson, of course. Why are we playing that? Because today would be Michael Jackson's 66th birthday. I can't even say it. 66th. That's a hard word. Believe it or not, he'd be 66 today if Michael Joseph Jackson were still here. And so we celebrate the life and the legacy of one Michael Joseph Jackson Okay, stop it, Miles. I can't afford no more than that. Stop it. Yeah, we'll get tagged on that. Anyway, we're talking in this hour to Katrina Vanden Heuvel, who is editorial director and publisher of The Nation magazine. And Katrina, excuse me, I saw your piece and read it, of course, in preparation for our conversation. Brilliantly written, and I want to just give you some time here and take your time to talk about this piece for those who haven't read it yet. But it's called Democrats Can Win This Election by Championing the Working Class. Tell us how, Katrina.
First of all, Tavis, I just want to say in terms of music, one of the moments at the convention you must remember is that I got 2 emails from friends saying Beyonce's in the building. And Beyonce was not in the building.
No, she was not.
But the working class.
Hey, before you jump, another quick Beyonce story. So, excuse me, I did my show every day for 3 hours, of course, 3-hour show.
Sure,
and before I did my show in Chicago, and after I did my show, I was being interviewed by everybody else in the media center. Tavis, can you come to my show? So I did interviews in the morning for 2 or 3 hours, then did my show for 3 hours, then did more interviews in the afternoon. It was insane. But I was sitting in somebody's booth, preparing for a conversation with them on their show, and the producer, a young black lady, the producer says, "I gotta go." And she was like, her hair was on fire. I'm like, what's the problem? She says, "I'm running to the floor. Beyonce is about to do a rehearsal."
I love it.
And
I love it.
I looked at her and I said, "Sweetie, I hate to bust your bubble, but 1, Beyonce is not in the building. Number 2, if Beyonce were in the building and doing a rehearsal, it would not be open. You would not be seeing Beyonce's rehearsal if she were doing a rehearsal. So I can assure you that Beyonce is not here. And were she here, you would not be in the room taking pictures of her rehearsal." And she looked at me like, hadn't thought about it that way, but I'm going anyway. And off she ran, and 5 minutes later, she came back because there was no Beyonce, there was no rehearsal. Anyway, it was a funny moment. I digress. Tell me about Democrats winning by advancing the working class, Katrina.
So when I talk about working class, it's brown, black, white, and there's the idea of kind of this populism, this multiracial populism, seems part of the Democrats' true history, which has been upended and changed because that big word neoliberalism has become so much a part of the Democratic Party until recently. I mean, I do think Joe Biden made headway in reclaiming the working class as the Democratic base. And, so you have, it's a scramble time, Tavis. I mean, sometimes Vance, J.D. Vance, the faux populism. He talks about Appalachia and he endorses the, FTC. Sometimes it seems like the only thing he despises more than cat ladies is corporations. But he's enthralled to Peter Thiel and, where do his true loyalties lie? So I think you need people like UAW head Sean Fain and AOC spoke effectively. Bernie, I think it wasn't his room, but he, has been a classic populist. And I think it's, the Democratic Party is becoming increasingly progressive. And the support for labor, though it's belied in a sense by how, the numbers on labor, it's part of like speaking in a different way and speaking in defense of those who have been shafted by the economics of this country. So I think this guy, John Russell, who, by the way, is an influencer, which is so interesting because this, as you know, Tavis, was a convention of influencers, like 200 were flown in.
Oh, yeah.
But he may have given the most radical speech in the convention's history. And he spoke from, Appalachian. He was talking about things that have not been spoken to on that podium. So I think it's a moment of real possible change. And how we seize it is part of the story.
There are 2 things that are connected to this story about the working class I want to get your opinion on. The first is your use of the word neoliberalism. Before I get much deeper, when you hear that word, what do you think these days? It's a word that is bandied about a lot. I think it's morphed and changed. At times it's been a pejorative. But that term, that word neoliberalism, what's that mean these days to you?
It's a good point. So listen, Trump is a symptom, in a sense, of some of the policies that have been adopted in the last 30, 40 years. When I think of neoliberalism, I think of trade deals, which have deindustrialized the country, which have just bankrupted parts of the middle of this country, and not just the middle of this country. In California, in New York, you can see the impact of trade policies which have hollowed out not only the middle class but the working class, and led to more living in poverty. I think it's tax policies which have basically taxed work at higher rates than investment income, and I think it's the donor class which has, to some large extent, seized the economics of the Democratic Party. So it's a socially liberal, which is important, critical, abortion rights, but on the issues of the economy, it's like it's just been not a policy that will help working people. Now, neoliberalism is a big term, but it is, in essence, the kind of Wall Streetization, the speculative casino-style Wall Street, now crypto, now AI, which needs to be kind of thought through and regulated, because if it's not, it's going to run wild. And who gets hurt most quickly? People at the bottom. And we've seen that. So neoliberalism, in a really quick way, because it is a big-sounding word, is just, shafting those at the bottom to favor and empower those at the top. And Warren Buffett, of all people, used to say, I pay less in taxes than my secretary.
That's right. Speaking of words, that's neoliberalism. Let me move to two other things right quick. This is something that has troubled me for quite some time, perhaps you as well, and I saw it again on display last week at the DNC. They put on a great party, no question there. A lot of great speeches, a lot of energy, but there are always things that trouble me about the way we move. And the Democrats have a bad habit, to my mind, a really bad habit. They have many bad habits, but the bad habit I'm referencing right now is this bad habit of always speaking to the middle class and never to the poor. You just used the word poor, poverty a moment ago. What is that about? I'm not naive in asking this, but we'll talk about the working class. That term gets out in various speeches. We always play to the middle class, and the middle class, as you know, ain't what it was. Most folk are struggling to get in the middle class, and those who are in it are fighting to stay in it. But yet we still have all these speeches, all this commentary geared toward the middle class. We never talk about the poor. We don't talk about poverty. We don't talk about income inequality, economic immobility. We can't get to that because we're tripping over ourselves to feign some allegiance to the so-called middle class, which again ain't what it used to be.
So it's so true, and I think of Reverend Barber, who is reviving Reverend King's Poor People's Campaign, and he's right. First of all, he talks about the violence and brutality of policies, policies that lead people to fall into poverty. People in this country, Tavis, living paycheck to paycheck, the idea of savings, et cetera. But one thing about the Biden policies last year, which was really exciting, in reviving the expanded child tax credit, it reduced childhood poverty by 40% or 50%. To see halving of child poverty makes people, I thought, remember the Great Society, Johnson in the 60s? It was a beginning to address poverty. And then the war, Vietnam War, other things hampered that. But the ability to cut poverty is not rocket science, but it does take investment. And it does take politicians talking about poverty. You know why a lot of politicians don't talk about poverty? Consultants, polls. They think it's more palatable, more, easy for people to kind of speak to, feel. But I think it's a mistake, because there are many people living in poverty who can't relate to the idea of only the middle class. It's very, how to put it? It's, very consultivized. You can feel it. And then the opportunity economy, like the middle, from the middle class out. I think there needs to be more inclusivity in the way Democrats speak about economic programs.
No, I think you're right. Let me circle back to where we began this conversation, talking about Jesse Jackson and the nation's endorsement of him in 1988 and the nation's tribute to him this year in 2024 at the Democratic Convention. When it comes to the working class and the poor, what is it that Jesse was doing and saying then that worked so effectively that Harris and Walz ought to be doing now?
Well, I'm not sure they can do it because, as he reminded the crowd in 1988, we work every day, he said. We are still poor.
Mm-hmm.
We pick up your garbage. We work every day. We drive your cars. We take care of your children. We empty your bedpans. We work every day. So, he didn't see the poor as victims.
Mm-hmm.
He called on them to struggle for their rights. And I think there is a victimization, de-empowerment that has followed. And there's certain policies, Tavis, like welfare reform, the Clinton policies of the welfare. That was about hitting the poor and, like they need to work. Well, where are the jobs?
Yeah.
Right? So I think that Jesse saw the ability to bring people together and to include the poor in a sense of what this country's about. And like Reverend Barber, he speaks about the economic violence that is present in the ravaged cities and the drugs and the guns. But it's not, the poor get a bad rap. Let me put it that way. In the media, they get a bad rap. They're viewed as disempowered as opposed to people who seek new ways.
Right.
So I think he spoke to the inequality, which does get under the radar. Yeah. And also, as you said, the social mobility. This country is probably the least socially mobile.
Mm-hmm. You think about that. We are the richest nation, not just in the world. I always remind people. People say we're the richest nation in the world. We are, but it's more than that. We are the richest nation in the history of the world, not just in the world, in the history of the world. And yet we have less social mobility than many other countries. That ought to be, it's a damning indictment, and one that we ought not to it's a garment we ought not to wear as easily as we do. I digress on that, but it's worth underscoring that. To this notion very quickly, though, of work, one of the points that Jesse made in 84 and 88, Dr. King, of course, was fond of making this. I'm not so sure in 2024 we still believe this, and it's simply this, that there is dignity in all work. To your point, we look down on the poor, and I don't think we believe that there's dignity in all work, Katrina.
So it's interesting because the term dignity was used quite a bit at the convention, which I love the word dignity. I think the most used words were USA.
I agreed.
And then, compassion and joy. But I do think that there's eyes averted from the critical work the poor do, or that certain jobs are worthy of respect and others not. And I think that needs to be recalibrated. And in just talking the middle class and the opportunity economy, it's not speaking to millions of people's lives. They don't see themselves in this party or its words. So I think there's work to be done. But I do think people want to work, and it's the failure to provide that in many ways. But you were talking about how we're the richest country, we're this and that. Reverend Jackson always understood, and he spoke of the irrationality of the military budgets. We seem to be able to do bread and guns, but I think it's complicated because you notice when things come up that are for true security, like child care, the money isn't there. The money's there for the latest F-16 bomber.
We had a guest earlier this week on our program, Alexander Vindman, Lieutenant Colonel, well known. Of course, many people remember the name Vindman from speaking at the impeachment hearings of Donald Trump. He was a guest on this program earlier this week, and he and I went back and forth. We got into it lovingly, respectfully, but spirited. It was back and forth about the military budget. He argued the military budget needs to go up. I said, "Are you serious?" So we got at it this week. If you heard that particular conversation, when we come forward with Katrina, I want to come back to that in two regards. Number one, she mentioned earlier that Jesse Jackson back then was a candidate of peace. Wait for it. I'm not sure that either of the two major party candidates this time around, with all due respect to Kamala, are candidates of peace. Not sure I believe that yet, given her use of that word lethal in terms of how the military needs to move in the coming years. I'm not sure that either major party candidate is, in fact, a candidate of peace. I could be wrong about that. Let's interrogate that. And speaking of the poor can make the difference in this election if they were mobilized and they were organized. That's Barbara's point. We'll talk about that and a great deal more with Katrina Vanden Heuvel when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. United Airlines flight attendants have approved a strike if they don't reach an agreement with the airline. For now, off-duty flight attendants are marching on informational picket lines. The flight attendants want raises, job security, and retirement benefits. Arguments were heard in a Missouri courtroom Wednesday over the pending execution of a man convicted in the 1998 killing of a Post-Dispatcher reporter. This despite the St. Louis County prosecuting attorney having filed to vacate the conviction against African-American Marcellus Williams. The CDC says 6 more people have died from an outbreak of contaminated deli meat. Since May, 9 people have died and nearly 60 have been hospitalized by a listeria outbreak connected to Boar's Head Meats. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Lowe's Rewards members. They've got exclusive Labor Day doorbuster deals just for you. Right now, save $100 on a 10-foot animatronic skeleton, now just $129. Valid through 9/2. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at Lowe's.com/terms. Subject to change while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A surprising outcome in the WNBA last night. The LA Sparks, the team with the WNBA's worst record, beat the team with the best record, the New York Liberty. The Sparks held on for a 6-point win at Crypto.com to snap a 7-game losing streak. They also snapped the Liberty's 8-game winning streak. Forward Derica Hamby led the Sparks with 21 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. The Dodgers got home runs from Shohei Ohtani and Teoscar Hernandez to hold off Baltimore last night. The Angels lost at Detroit. Their losing streak is now at 7. ESPN's popular First Take Morning Show will be broadcasting live from 3 HBCU campuses. September 20th at Howard University, the alma mater of Vice President Kamala Harris. October 11th at Tennessee State, the alma mater of Oprah Winfrey. And November 8th at Morehouse College, the alma mater of filmmaker Spike Lee. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Tavis is under attack. I can't get his radio station on my transistor. I'm getting the agent station that he's right around, but they're not letting KBLA 1580 come in. I'm not getting the black man. So let Tavis know he's under attack. Cyber attack, racist attack, fascist attack, but he's under attack. And they doing something to disrupt his radio station so they won't get the truth out to us.
Hey, it's Tavis. We appreciate all that love, let me tell you, because we may very well be under attack on all sides. Just because you don't believe in conspiracy theories don't mean they ain't after you. But in reality, sometimes stuff happens with the signal from the studio to the tower, which sends our programming to your car, home, office, or your transistor radio. But when you download the KBLA 1580 app, the sound is clear as a bell all day, all night, anywhere in the world. from Los Angeles to Lagos. So, we love all of our listeners, no matter how you hear us. But when you download the KBLA 1580 app and hear that richness, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. But don't take my word for it. Download the KBLA 1580 app right now. I'm Tavis Smiley, and I approve this message.
Choose a Sleep Number smart bed.
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition Smart Bed. Limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Ugh, I've been feeling so sluggish. I'm just kind of blah.
Been there. That's why I take Align yogurt-coated probiotic fruit bites.
But I suppose they taste blah.
Actually, they taste delicious. It's an apple blueberry flavored center covered in a yogurt coating and is infused with probiotics to help support a healthy gut. They come 5 in a pouch. I just toss one in my bag and go.
Toss one in my bag?
Get your own.
New Align yogurt-coated probiotic fruit bites from the makers of the #1 doctor-recommended probiotic brand. Find them in the digestive care aisle.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in.
But we're okay with that.
You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
Smiley Show. It feels so good inside. I've always wanted a girl just like you. You're such a purity. Pretty young thing. Ooh. Where did you come from, baby? And ooh, won't you take me there right away? Won't you, baby? Tenderoni, you got to be. Spark my need, just sugar fly with me. Don't you know now is the perfect time? We can make it right in the city lights. Winter night, ease the love and pain. Let me take it to the max. I want to love you, pretty young thing.
My board up, Miles Lowe is wearing his rocking his Michael Jackson T-shirt today, as I suspect many others are, all around the country, all around the world. As we celebrate the natal day of Michael Joseph Jackson, he'd be 66. Where he's still with us today. We miss and love forever Michael Jackson, sounding as good as ever. Whenever I hear that track, I think of two people: Michael Jackson, of course, but the guy who wrote that song. Guess, anybody? Michael Jackson fans? James Ingram.
No.
James Ingram wrote that song for Michael Jackson, and it's a sad thing to consider that both James Ingram and Michael are gone, but their music lives forever. But James Ingram wrote that track for Michael Jackson, and they collaborated nicely on that thing. All right, Miles, stop it. I can't afford no more than that. Stop it. I can't afford to pay no more than that. Our guest in this hour is Katrina Vanden Heuvel. She is our editorial director and publisher of The Nation magazine, and you said a few things moments ago, Katrina, I want to come back to. Let me start with this.
No.
I mentioned earlier that we had former Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman on this program a few days ago. He, of course, testified during the impeachment hearings for Donald Trump and got a lot of exposure, a lot of publicity then. And he and I went at it this week about his view that given all this happening in the world, we need to increase our military budget and hold down domestic spending. I said, you've lost your mind, man. Put down the crack pipe. Mm-hmm. So he and I sort of went at it in the conversation. Here you come today talking about Jesse Jackson being a candidate of peace back in 1988. Yeah. Indeed he was. I thought about Jimmy Carter, whose grandson, I think, spoke at the DNC.
That's right.
Jimmy Carter still holding on. God bless his soul. He's still holding on at home in Plains, Georgia. Jimmy Carter will tell you. He would tell you if he were here right now. He always tells me, Tavis, I did not, during my presidency, that 4-year period, not one bullet was ever shot. The U.S. military did not fire a single bullet. During my 4 years of the presidency, we did not engage. We did not get engaged in any war anywhere around the world. He's very proud of that, being a man of peace. But to your point, I'm not so sure. Speaking of candidates of peace, Jimmy Carter, Jesse Jackson, I'm not sure that either of these candidates are candidates of peace. If I'm wrong about that, tell me.
You're not wrong. Jimmy Carter, best living ex-president.
There you go.
What he did with the Carter Center, what he did with his writing, was to understand that true security is not guaranteed by more bombs, but ending injustice, poverty, offering hope, opportunity. Couldn't agree more. And I think what Jesse Jackson showed us was that, that his was a politics of peace. He called for alternatives to the military budget, cutting at least 25%. Our military budget is larger than the military budget of 10 other leading countries combined, and that is China, Russia. And, what it's become, Tavis, is a military, industrial, economic program.
That's right.
And President Biden justifies the increases as those that will create jobs in America. We can do better. They're more productive jobs, education, healthcare, and we don't need more weapons. And in fact, the irrationality of nuclear buildup, the arms race at this moment is crazy. So I think we need to come back to the ideas, retrieve what was the nuclear freeze. Remember 1 million people? We need a movement, 1 million people in Central Park in June 1982 calling for a nuclear build-down. So I don't agree with those who think we need more. I agree with those who think we should begin a very serious process of cutting and doing it in a way that will improve the security of this country and the world.
Just some numbers.
I will say
sure.
on I speak as a woman, and it pains me because I used to have correspondence with Ellen Malcolm before she founded Emily's List, which is the largest, I think, PAC for women who support reproductive rights. This was during the, original Cold War. And she said women had to be tougher. And tougher means often, hard-headed. I've always thought, what does that mean? You can't get new ideas in your head. But that women need to be tougher, and that meant more weapons, et cetera. Then the Cold War kind of ended, and then the issue became women in crime, that they needed to show they were tougher. So I thought when Kamala Harris used the word lethal in a sentence, which was already, we have the greatest military, lethal just made me sit up real straight, and I kind of had chills down my spine. Not sure, I think that it's possible there will be change, but I suspect there's going to be more continuity in terms of Israel, Gaza, and China.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question about Kamala and that use of the word lethal, because you and I processed that word the very same way. It was a low point for me in her speech to even use that word. But put a pin in that. Put a pin in that just for a second. In terms of the numbers, in 2023, the U.S. spent $916 billion on the military. Let me say that again. Last year, $916 billion on the military, which represents over 40% of the world's total military spending. I mean, think about that. Over 40%, as Katrina just said. I want to give you the numbers of the entire world's military spending. But again, $916 billion last year, and we got folks suggesting that we ought to spend more. I digress on that. Back to this word lethal. Here's my concern about Kamala Harris, and you tell me if you agree or disagree.
And by the way, Tavis, if I could just say, on 916. We're not getting the full story there because there's a lot of dark money. There you go. Anyway, okay.
There you go. So love Kamala, but my concern is that because she is a woman, given that Hillary couldn't pull this off, having been Secretary of State. I mean, Kamala's foreign policy chops, let's call it what it is. Her foreign policy chops are not those of Hillary Clinton, whether one agrees or disagrees with Hillary's policy pronouncements. She's got more chops in that regard than Kamala does. She was Secretary of State. Here's my point. I'm concerned that because she feels this need to prove that she would be tough as commander-in-chief, we end up going too far in the wrong direction. Does that make sense?
So my thinking is maybe Hillary Clinton was wed and tethered to a set of policies that she couldn't move away from.
Right.
And that there's a chance that Kamala, maybe she'd, the joyous warrior.
Right.
A warrior who will see, that it's not just the military and that we can be number one in other things. I mean, that would be exciting. And we did a short piece about her main foreign policy advisor. The Nation did. He's okay. He's a realist.
Right.
But the main thing is to remember that America is a great power, still moving toward being a more perfect union, but is one of several. It's not about decline. It's just that we do better if we're playing with others a little more effectively, as opposed to saying, God, we're, number one and we're above it all, except for spending billions.
Our guest is Katrina Vanden Heuvel, editorial director and publisher of The Nation magazine. More with her when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone, and should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Tavis Smiley's new book, The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, is now on sale everywhere. This classic text shot to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list almost 2 decades ago. If you have the original book, you will surely want to get this 20th anniversary edition with powerful new contributions from today's leading voices. This 20th anniversary edition presents a compelling blend of historical insights and contemporary urgency in this critical and unprecedented election year. Get your copy of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later today.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop. What make you? Yeah.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
He's a paradigm pioneer and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley and Katrina Vanden Heuvel, editorial director and publisher of the Nation magazine. Speaking of Kamala Harris, she and Tim Walz have commenced their bus tour of Georgia. It is a sign to me, Katrina, they believe that they can win in Georgia and perhaps some of these other states that are borderline. What say you?
I say you're right. You got in play. It looks like Kamala Harris is leading in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, but Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia is a big state. So that's, part of the reason they're doing the bus tour, and the debate out of Georgia, interesting in that regard, too.
Yep. So tonight
she certainly, there's no mistake anymore about not visiting Wisconsin.
No, you're right. You're right. So it's today that they will appear on CNN. She and Tim Walz will do their first joint interview since the convention. Of course, after tonight there'll be many other interviews. My sense is, and I'm not. There are a number of reasons why I think this may be the case, but I want to get your take on it as the publisher of the Nation magazine.
Yeah.
My sense is, and Donald Trump, frankly, let's just call it what it is. Donald Trump has chided her about not doing interviews. It sort of reminds me of the way that Joe Biden, stayed in that bunker in Delaware.
Yeah.
Of course, it was a pandemic then, so he had a good reason for not coming out. I get that. My sense is that if they don't put her out to do a number of interviews, Trump and others will continue to beat her up about being afraid to do these
Yep,
interviews.
yep.
What's behind that? Anyway, I don't want to call it much more than that. At the moment, she has not sat for a number of interviews, and I don't know if they're scared of something, if they're scared of that word salad or that giggle, but it's one thing to be in a frame of standing behind a podium giving a speech. It's another
Totally.
thing to sit for interviews, and I'm not sure how to read the fact that they have not been putting her out for interviews. How are you reading it?
Well, let's see tonight. I'm also a little surprised it's a duo. I thought she might do the first one alone.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, she did a few, I think, in Chicago with influencers, which
Mhm.
is another interesting media point.
Sure.
But her interaction with hecklers at one of her talks, she seemed brittle, didn't quite flow with it. She's had very unimpeded kind of access to the podium. But she can't do that. She'll have to speak. And I say that with humility. The press doesn't deserve everything, but it will grow. And it's certainly, you got media columnists saying, why isn't she doing this, and that. I think she feels more comfortable based on the interviews in 2020. Remember the set piece, the important 2-minute where she spoke to Biden about the busing, and she was that child, that girl. I think she's going to organize a few set pieces for the debate, which will be another presentation to the media. But, I think it's good that she's done a lot of rallies. They do seem more scripted than spontaneous. But let's see tonight, and let's see what the schedule is moving forward.
No, we shall see.
Yeah.
Yep, we shall see.
We shall see.
Our remaining moments for Katrina Vanden, who will when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent. So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle.
Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Free and Gentle. This back-to-school season, Tide and Downy are giving back with $1.5 million in scholarships. Enter to win. No purchase necessary. US/DC 17+. End September 30th. Rules. Tide.com/scholarship/official rules.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Freedom is an endless meeting, So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Let's get back to it for the next 4 minutes before we wrap this meeting with Katrina Vanden Heuvel, editorial director and publisher of The Nation magazine. Katrina, I want to close on this note because I know, of course, that you're not just the publisher and editorial director of The Nation. By the way, Katrina's piece that we started talking about in this hour is called Democrats Can Win This Election by Championing the Working Class. That piece can be found at The Guardian. So just Google it at The Guardian, and you'll find her piece about Democrats and the working class and what they can do if they have the will and the skill to make it happen this time around. But she's also, Katrina is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. And so I always love probing her intellect and her expertise on foreign policy issues. And there are a number of hot spots, of course, around the globe. And I'm curious as to what you are watching, what you are tracking that might make a difference between now and November and how we view these two candidates.
So, Tavis, the group I'm really involved with is a group called the Quincy Institute, which was founded about 5 years ago, and it's devoted to a kind of progressive realism.
We had Trita Parsi on the other day.
Trita Parsi on,
yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
And he's one of the founders.
Yeah.
But it's an understanding that dialogue and diplomacy seem like old-fashioned words, but those are words that are demonized sometimes, like the idea of dialogue. You don't have to play footsie with adversaries, but the idea of some kind of understanding as opposed to rush to militarism, I think is critical. And it's not about, for example, human rights requires dialogue. It requires diplomacy. It's not that I'm a pacifist, but I am a believer that we have used our military too quickly, and Reverend Jackson saw that too, and he brought together a sense of the imperialism in the world linked to the oppression at home. And I think that's right. I'm interested that the global South is emerging as a voice, partly because of Gaza and other factors. And I think that's important. But I also feel that it's important to find a way to resolve this war in Ukraine. Increasingly, people are being deployed and mobilized who are running away in Ukraine and in Russia. And the mobilization is, depriving the possibility of finding a way forward. It's not going to be resolved by military means. And I know Mr. Vindman would heavily disagree, but there are not enough weapons in the pipeline at this stage. But should there be more weapons, it would just lead to more killing as opposed to finding a way to resolve conflict.
You and I couldn't agree more. In the 60 seconds I have left, tell me why it is you believe that we are so slow to dialogue and so quick to use military force.
The belief that we're number one, that we can rule and be policemen of the world. And I think that's unhealthy. I think we can be number one in other ways, as I said, and I hope people will increasingly see that in order to be that more perfect union. It's going to take work and investment and funding and mindset shift. So that's my hope. My hope.
As Jesse Jackson would say, keep hope alive. That's it. Keep hope alive, Katrina. Katrina, thank you as always for your insights. She's editorial director and publisher of The Nation magazine. We'll do it again, Katrina. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Good to have you on this program. Keep hope alive. We got 2 great hours in front of us. Let me tell you where we're going in case you've just tuned in. In our second hour, in just a few minutes from now, as a matter of fact, we'll be talking with Ben Raines, award-winning environmental journalist and filmmaker, about the latest developments and the fate of Clotilda. Clotilda was the last known U.S. slave ship, and there's a great debate now about whether or not it should be left beneath the sea. They know where it is. Should it be left beneath the sea or recovered and preserved for history? There's a film, a documentary about this right now, streaming on Hulu and that GOTV on Disney Plus. So we talked to Ben Raines about that in our second hour, and then our third hour, a roundtable panel discussion about the fate and future of Black America as we talk about the covenant with Black America. 20 years later, now out, you're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In the 1998 killing of a Post-Dispatcher reporter, this despite the St. Louis County prosecuting attorney having